Yeah.
That's too scary to think about. They were living there, and a lot of those people that were there, they're veterans. You know, what if they brought bombs and they blew up doors and go through whatever chambers or whatever? Because there was a person named, there was a colonel, okay? And there was another, veteran. And there was another, I think, officer, veteran. They might have had knowledge that, you know, there was maybe passageways underneath, I don't know. But whatever, you know, they had a thing that they go in there, and they were sinking tanks, they were squeezing tanks, and screaming Pelosi, Nancy, and they knew that they were there. This isn't now the time of them knowing that they were there. And they were scared. What would have happened if they would have got them? Would they have, done like a civilian court-martial and try to bring up charges with them? They're trying to find out why they wanted to impeach Donald Trump for 4 years. How come it's 4 years? All our country leaders in your own times, you put in powerful positions. How come you couldn't put away Donald Trump? What is it that Donald Trump has so much dirt on you that only probably could be prosecuted and put in jail or maybe even executed? This is a very scary situation. Why are these people in there for so many years? Just shouldn't have been for decades. Losing different decades. All these people have been there. How is it that they were there for so long? California environment. Okay? After doing an investigation with that FBI agent, after he found that laptop was that belonged to, what do you call it, unrequested, an advisory person, that he was a pedophile, and he used that laptop. And then the director told the world that it was lost, there was a pedophile on that laptop. How come you investigate that laptop? And had prosecuted, what was his name? You know I'm talking about. I mean, you know, this thing was a joke. He was joked with people. They made a name with all these people that they want anything, they want the truth. And people are not protesting. They only know that they bring justice to all these other people, and they need to, you know, they're involved in bringing good to their life. And because justice is never been done on that country whatsoever. It's not. This is a joke on the American people. This is a joke on freedom. This is a joke on our constitutional rights, our budget, everything. Our forefathers are turning in their graves for what's going on. You know, we read on the landscape, you know, last conversation about our forefathers. They're turning in their graves. And these people, they want us to live our lives. They don't care. I wrote to that Donald Trump wanted 150,000 indictments for global pedophiles to be arrested. What happened was that the indictments were issued by U.S. Marines for all these pedophiles. And you're looking at that George Herbert Walker Bush funeral home. You look for expression on George Walker Bush. And also now Bush, the state, that they look disturbing, but they look very disturbing except Bush. That kind of story.
Right.
And, I don't know if the people want to know the truth. So this thing's coming down. The Democrats and some Republicans, they don't want Donald Trump in there no more. They don't want him in the White House.
Right. They want a liberal nation. They don't want our country to be established on the morals and values of our forefathers and our founding documents of the United States Constitution. They want a completely liberal, different type of society. It should have been based on freedom, liberty, and justice for all, according to the United States Constitution, right? And also the independence of declaration. Thomas Jefferson wrote the documents, and also the Gettysburg Address, written by Abraham Lincoln.
There's no justice here. After what I mentioned.
What is your opinion about the disclosure? Why are people ignoring disclosure so much? Tell us about it.
The reason being why is because we go back as far as Dwight Eisenhower on January 17th, 1961, 2 days before John F. Kennedy's inauguration. The inauguration falls on January 20th. But 2 days before, Dwight Eisenhower, and he gave his last speech and said to beware of the military-industrial complex. And what it is, there's been a lot of exposures, and a lot of open-minded. And every day there's more and more disclosure that people begin to realize that they're hearing more and they're seeing more about exposure of UFOs and about extraterrestrials. And they bring up the subject of Roswell, that they were involved with the extraterrestrials in 1947 in Roswell. And that military-industrial complex is a very scary situation because you're dealing with very powerful industrialized nations like Russia, China, England, France, United States, that our militaries are controlled by extraterrestrials. Okay, that's what the MIC is, the military-industrial complex.
That was addressed wasn't that addressed by President Dwight D. Eisenhower?
Yeah, he said
right.
Beware of the military-industrial complex. But he didn't go into detail, like what I'm telling you right now. Okay, that's all he said. He didn't mention extraterrestrials to the public, if you listen to his conversation. Okay? So, I don't know if they would have cut him off if he mentioned extraterrestrial, or you had to be careful. Because Jimmy Carter mentioned about UFOs, because he saw it, correct? And also, who was very big and talking about it very much was Ronald Reagan. And what happened was, with Ronald Reagan, that he wanted to expose disclosure very much, where they put some guy on mind control. I forget the guy's name. And he was under orders on mind control to only rule the president, not to kill him. So that assassin went and shot Ronald Reagan. And he knew it.
Go on, I'm listening. Go ahead, I'm listening.
But whisper in his ear, but not to talk about UFOs and extraterrestrial. Okay? So, what happened was, Ronald Reagan was at the United Nations, and he thought maybe there would be an extraterrestrial threat, and he spoke to Gorbachev of Russia. They told the people at the United Nations, the whole world, that he spoke to Gorbachev of Russia, and he said, what if we left our indifferences between us and went to war up against extraterrestrial? Right? So anyway, after Ronald Reagan left the White House. He left office. This is so long ago, I forget where I got this, but I understand that they purposely did something to put either a drink or food to Ronald Reagan, to purposely give him Alzheimer's so he loses memory. Okay? So, this is what happens when you asked me about disclosure just now. That people are scared. You see that I got this thing that follows me, correct?
Right.
And I convince a lot of people throughout the entire world, because a lot of people from all over the world, they go to these UFO conferences that I had attended. So I'm known by a lot of people from all over the world, because before I go to these UFO conferences, when I register, you have to spend money on the conferences, whatever they are, 100, 200, 300, or whatever, the fee that you have to pay, for each conference. So when I pay for the conference, I always tell them that I'm bringing UFOs to your conference. And then when I'm there, I start going around telling people that, I got these UFOs. That, look at the sky and you see them. So when every time I attended the next conference, everybody stared at me like I was a celebrity. They knew me. A lot of people in the UFO community, as soon as I hit their state, their town, their UFO area, where the whole UFO conference, you can read people's minds with their eyes. And, the way they stared at me, I knew that they knew that I had this. But nobody approached me, and not even asked me one question. They won't ask me if I communicate with them. They don't ask me if I ever been on a starship. Two things. They know that it's just like there's good and bad people in this world. They know that there's good and bad extraterrestrials. Okay? And they know that the bad extraterrestrials, they control our world. They control our military. They know that there are different levels of shadow governments. And in each level of shadow government, there's a different type of species of extraterrestrials. And it's just depending on the President of the United States knows what type of species are in any of those levels of shadow government. Have you ever heard of that before?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So, people are, they want disclosure, but they're scared of disclosure. Okay? It's just like the Illuminati. They don't want Trump in there because the guy, he's been in an Illuminati cabal for a long time. The guy was with the Italian mafia. He was with the Russian mafia. They was with the Chinese mafia. Okay? He was with the Illuminati. He was with Jeff Epstein. He was, he was a kid. There's pictures of him. He was a pedophile. So what does that mean? The guy's like a James Bond right now. He knows all these people and he wants to expose them. What was James Bond in the movies? James Bond in the movies, who was he around, James Bond? You remember James Bond? There was a lot of characters, a lot of different people besides Sean Connery. You understand what I'm saying? There were a lot of different actors over the years, correct?
Yes.
And who was James Bond more or less around? He was around home. He was around villains, correct?
Right. Mostly villains.
To find out he wanted to find out that the organization, what was the mystery behind it, what was their plot? They had to blend in. You understand? So in other words, Donald Trump is like a James Bond because he knows too much. When you know too much, you could wind up dead. Correct? Because, you expose too much, you could wind up dead. Correct?
Right.
So Donald Trump is saying, you have to be very careful. He's walking on pins and needles and on broken glass barefooted. with this situation. And these people, they don't want them in there. They don't want them in there for 4 years. Otherwise, they wanted to impeach him another 4 years. And they don't want to go through that. Okay? But, this guy, he's bad. He's a badass. It's like, in the old days, the Western, you heard of Dodge City.
Yeah.
There were cattle rustlers, there was horse stealing. When you stole a horse, what they do in the old days? They hung you. Because, if you're out, way out in the forest, and, you shoot somebody and you grab their horse and they find out that you're horse stealing, and they find you, what they do, they hung you. Or, the guy held up the guy, and he took his horse and his belongings and his whatever money. And one day, they hung a guy stealing a horse. Okay? They were very strict in those days. So what happened was that there were a lot of badass, like little kids. So they used to be crazy with the gun. And they were like, it was known as gunslingers in those days. And the people, the town folks, they couldn't stand these cattle rustlers and horse dealers and whatever, all these different types of bad those days. And they come to town, they go into the civil, they shoot their guns, they get stones, they shoot bystanders or whatever. There was no law and order. So when they knew somebody that was very good with a gun, what did they do? Like Donald Trump, trying to be a sheriff.